Forget that. Howdy ho, Arkansas Pilgrim here again. So I told you I was going to probably just do 2 videos in a row. Anyway, here's my second May SHEDWARS21 tip video for gardening. I've mentioned it before, but I do kind of a combination, or I am doing, that is, a combination of traditional row gardening and the square foot gardening method. And square foot gardening is basically intensive planting, because if you plant, if you follow the directions on seed packets, they'll generally say, plant this many inches apart, and then later when it grows up, thin to this many inches apart, and then also plant like plant one row and have 2 to 3 feet between rows. Well, what that does is, first of all, makes you throw away most of the seeds that you're planting. So one thing I do is I plant at the final spacing. And if you got good seeds, they all germinate anyway. And if you're really worried about it, you plant 2 seeds instead of just 1. And then at least then you only throw, if everything germinates, you only throw away half of the things. And sometimes what I do even then is I'll transplant those second seedlings that come up, and I'll transplant them and grow those too. I actually have done that, not just theoretical. But the second thing is the spaces between the rows means that if you have a row garden, the overwhelming majority of your garden area is taken up by walkways. So what I do, or I have done, I have done and am doing, is I plant. You do an intensive planting like the square foot method, but you do that in rows. This one I actually happen to have 4-foot wide planting areas. Sometimes, because you can reach 2 feet in from either side, and I have a 1-foot wide walk area, or walkway. So most of the garden is being planted, not walked on. And in this case, I've got, the tomatoes. Each one of these tomatoes needs a 2-foot by 2-foot area to grow in. They're Roma tomatoes. And they're bushes, and that's so you need that area for them to bush out. This is my squash, and it needs a 3 by 3, so I've got an extra foot over here that I was going to plant something in. I'm still up in the air with that because all my original plans kind of went out the window because of weather issues and me being behind. Now let's just blame it on the weather issues, not me. It's the weather. That's the problem. Weather's the problem. None of it's my fault. Well, when you have your rows, and even if you did a traditional row garden, it's good to delineate exactly where your plant areas are, especially if you're going to be planting seeds like I did down there where I direct planted bean seeds. So you want to have the rows delineated so you're not stepping over onto places where you may have planted. And there are different ways to do that. A lot of people put there's the traditional method there. I've got a stake in the ground and a string between the stakes. Well, I don't like stakes sticking up. This one's in the back, so it's not too bad, but it's just something to trip over is what I don't like. Because I've tripped over it before. And you don't want to trip over something else and land on a stake either. That would not be good. So what I did this time, originally I had a bunch of these leftover wood strips, and actually you may have seen that in a previous video if you watched any of them. I just laid these strips down, but then the wind and rain kind of blew them around, and they're going to rot, and I could use those strips for something else. So what I did, I took some nails. I actually happen to have a bunch of old aluminum nails that were anodized, but you don't need to get those. That's just what I happen to be using here, because I saved these and never found a good use for them. But just use regular old nails, and I got a big roll of twine. This is, it's plastic twine, and here we go. You can see, stuck it all the way in the ground. Run it all the way down there, put another one in, and you've got nice, simple, cheap, the really important word there, ways to delineate your rows, and it helps you, helps you stay on the walkway, because wherever you walk, you're going to compact. And actually, you may notice the walkways are a little more free of weeds. You're going to compact, but the next time you do you do a garden, you're going to have these areas that are compacted. Well, you want to keep that at a minimum, because you end up having to till them up, and it's actually a good idea to move where you're planting around. Just like crop rotation, you don't want to plant the same thing in the same place. Well, if you actually move where you're planting, that helps too. Anyway, I'm not sure how many tips were in this, but the main idea for the tips was the how to delineate your walkways in a simple, cheap way on something you're not going to trip over. Anyway, I hope that's helpful to y'all. Go Team Aquarius, and hey, go Team Will It Grow too. We're all in this together. God bless y'all. See you next time.